Caution, this podcast contains enough spicy content to make even the toughest dames blush. Listener discretion is advised. Your episode begins in 3, 2, 1. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to the Lusty Library. We are your dirty dames. Hosting today is me. I'm Lexx. And I have my super fabs here with me. Hi, Birdie.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm just great. I'm already a little tipsy, I think.
I was going to say, I think this is the first time we've set up, and we're all really red in the face.
Yeah, I tripped going up the stairs to the bathroom. Shit. Whoops.
How about you, Joey?
Yeah, like my fingertips are kind of numb at this point, and I think my lips are going to go next. So if I start to babble, then maybe you need to take this cocktail away from me.
Okay, so this week's is
Delicious.
3 out of 3 stars.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
So in case you didn't notice, we're here to drink cocktails and talk about cocks. Usually we don't start the cocktail talk this early in the podcast, but for our book today, we've got a lovely mint chocolate chip martini, which we'll talk about why later on. All right, today we are talking about The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. Why did we pick this, my friends? I know I picked it, but why'd you all put it on the list too?
Blind trust in a good friend who's a book nerd.
Yes.
You and your fucking blind trust. You're killing me,
Blind
Smalls.
trust.
You are killing me. Oh, I don't read a summary. I just pick a book by just running my finger across it. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Listen, you all know this person that chose this book.
Absolutely. And that's why I was like, I want to do it. I want to do it. Pretty, do you mind if I do it?
Yeah.
Because this friend, I was like, oh. First of all, when I found out this friend read spicy books, I was like, I knew she was hiding something. And then when I read the summary on this, I was like, oh, fucking fascinating. I love the twist on this. So let me read you the summary from La Amazon.
It is French. Jeff Bezos.
So, The Kiss Quotient. Stella Lane thinks math is the only thing that unites the universe. She comes up with algorithms to predict customer purchases, a job that has given her more money than she knows what to do with, and way less experience in dating department than the average 30-year-old. It doesn't help that Stella has Asperger's, and French kissing reminds her of a shark getting its teeth cleaned by a pilot fish. Her conclusion? She needs a lot of practice with a professional, which is why she hires Michael Phan, the Vietnamese and Swedish stunner. Think about that for 2 seconds.
Hell yeah.
Can't afford to turn down Stella's offer, agrees to help her check off her list of all the boxes on her lesson plan, from foreplay to more than missionary position. Before long, Stella not only learns to appreciate his kisses, but craves all the other things he makes her feel. This no-nonsense partnership starts making a strange kind of sense, and the pattern that emerges will convince Stella that love is the best kind of logic. Love.
It's a good summary.
It is a good summary. And so when I was like, oh, she's neurodivergent. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are finding, especially as time goes on and diagnosis and just the way we look at mental health has changed. What used to be described maybe as somebody who was shy, or even things like cold fish, these things that we used to label women. It's like, no, this is just how people are, and it's not a problem. It's just a different way of being and who they are. And I'm like, I want to read this. This sounds fascinating. And the author has taken the pretty woman trope and kind of turned it on its head. So how did you react to it?
Aren't we supposed to not use the word Asperger's anymore?
They use it in the summary.
Right.
So that's why we're using it here. But yes, the term neurodivergent is generally what is accepted as a use now. I see you fast blinking.
I am fast blinking because this is all fascinating. This was definitely a new world for me. And the summary really kind of sucked you in because It kind of almost brings you back to when you were young and the first time you were having sex and all those weird, awkward experiences you were having.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of almost gave me flashbacks because I can just imagine someone learning about sex. It brought me back to when I was kind of like flubbing like a fish on the floor.
Well, and that's just it. Her experiences, they're delayed. It's not that there's anything wrong with her. There's nothing lacking. It's just she has not had the experiences yet. And as she gains the experience with a partner that takes the time to learn what makes her tick. And that's what all of us are doing, is learning like what makes us tick. I loved how romantic this story ended up being.
Yeah.
And I was actually concerned when we picked it because I'm like, we tend to pick very spicy things. And I'm like, is there going to be spice in this? And there is spice in this, and it's not weird. That was the other thing is I'm like, is it going to be weird? That's the whole point of the book. You know, when you hear neurodivergent, do you think something's wrong? And do you think it's wrong to talk about sex and that in the same sentence, let alone the same book?
Can I read everybody a thing from the internet, which I
Absolutely. Go ahead.
just found. So this is why I was thinking this. So Asperger's syndrome is now included in the broader diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, parentheses ASD. The term Asperger's syndrome was retired in the 2013 edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders and the 2019 edition of the same thing. However, some providers may still use the term Asperger's syndrome or may say ASD without intellectual or language impairment, quote. People who were diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome before 2013 may also still use the term as part of their identity or may prefer to identify as autistic.
And because if you get to the end and you read the author's note, and she had a journey.
Oh.
And ended up seeing that she ends up on the neurodivergent spectrum. And where she's choosing this, and especially since she's specifically using the words in the novel, that's why we're using it in the context of this podcast.
Absolutely. And I didn't have the time to look into it, but I had a feeling that the author may have some personal relationship with.
And I didn't know that relationship until I listened to the audio first, and I don't think the author's note is included.
It's not in the audiobook.
So when I went and read the Kindle version, the author's note is at the end, and I'm like, oh, I want to read what Helen's got to say about this. And it was fascinating to hear what she had to say. So
there you go. Joey's like, skip to the smut, folks. You're boring the shit out of me.
No, not at all. I am taking all the information.
All right. So let's talk about our two lovebirds, Stella and Michael. How do we feel about Stella? When you met her, what'd you think?
I immediately was annoyed that her mother was calling out like, well, honey, this, might not work well with your Asperger's syndrome. And I was like, seriously, Mom? Like, how about you just treat her like a normal person? But her mom actually ended up being pretty cool in the end, I think. But I really liked her. And I also was just like, well, if this description is what Asperger's syndrome is, then I identify with a lot of the struggles that she's going through. Holy shit.
There are certain monologues that I was like, holy shit, I do that when I go into big social situations. But also, she's smart. She's strong. She is beautiful. She knows what she likes. She very much has gotten very successful pursuing her passions.
Love that she turned down a promotion because she didn't want to manage people. She just wanted to do the data and do the job. And I loved that.
Joey?
So take a look at it. It really was that even if you stripped the other components back, it was just a 30-year-old woman, maybe not the greatest at dating, which is really hard out there nowadays, putting her focus into her work so she can take care of herself, getting pressure from her family to have a family of her own.
We've all experienced, or at least I think all of us here have experienced.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah. I mean, my partner and I weren't even married yet, and his mom was like, so grandbabies.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's young.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because, we got married at like 12.
Because you're only like 16. So
exactly.
I don't know how that's possible.
No, but like early 20s, already getting
Yikes.
Hey, where are the grandbabies? It's a struggle that most, I was going to say women, but I think even people, because the sons get it too.
So I liked Stella. I thought Stella was doing the best she could to have control of her own life and to live it the way she wanted to. So you can't ask for more than that, can you?
Do you know what she didn't control enough that really bugged me?
Tell me.
Oh my God, I wanted to fucking punch Philip in the face from chapter 1. And the fact that we had to wait almost till the end of the book for him to get punched in the face really bugged me.
So satisfying.
He was sexually harassing her.
Yeah.
Like, really badly.
My notes on Philip is HR incident that needed to be reported.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So for people who haven't read the book yet, Philip is a coworker. Philip is making fun of her immediately and asking her how many times she's had sex, guessing the number, telling her that she should practice having sex. And granted, yes, she actually does take his advice and the book ensues, and it's a great idea for her.
Catalyst, but because of the way she processes information, she just took it as information as opposed to he's been a fucking dick.
Right.
Because she's very forward. She speaks what's on her mind. So when she's receiving that information to her, it's no different than something she would say to someone.
Which made me so frustrated because he, I guess unknowingly, but he's a fucking asshole. He unknowingly was taking advantage of her disability that he wasn't aware of, but he was taking advantage of the fact that she probably isn't going to report him because she's not thinking enough about her situation. She's, like you said, she's taking it as data.
Yes.
She's not taking it as like, he shouldn't be saying this to me. Oh my God, I wanted to punch him in the face.
But he also admits to points in the book having issues himself, right?
So it's interesting because I'm going to go back to the author's note. She talks about the difference of the way women who are neurodivergent are treated than men who are neurodivergent that are treated. And I think she's specifically calling this out with Philip because women, whether you're neurodivergent or not, are trained to, you have to be presented a certain way to be socially acceptable, and that men traditionally can behave a certain way and they are seen as virile, powerful, whatever. And so he doesn't have to learn the same coping skills, even though he is also neurodivergent.
We're assuming.
No, they say it somewhere in there that he has certain issues and that's why they would...
they would be a good pair together.
The moms say it.
The moms say it.
Down the line.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
He doesn't have to come up with the same social coping skills that Stella has. She's had to learn, how long do I stare at somebody? 3 seconds, because too short, you look like you're uncomfortable. Too long, you freak people out. There's certain social cues that she's had to memorize to be able to fit in.
So listen, the real crux of this whole situation is why the fuck does Philip have an economy box of Trojan condoms, not in a bag? Hello, reusable shopping bags, Philip, reusable shopping bags in the office that he's got to go back and get on a Saturday and just toting it around. Like,
so Philip knows she's in the office on the weekends.
Yeah.
He was trying even that early to like get her to make the move.
We find out later that he was actually into her. And so that scene makes so much more sense when you find out later that he actually really liked her. And not to say it's acceptable in any stretch, it's really fucking weird.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a really like her. When you're looking at how these people have grown up, their society, it was that these two would have been a great match for each other. They're both in economics. They both hold high positions. Their families have money. This was not the I like you. This was you are a good fit for my lifestyle and you will make me look good. Let's be real here.
Okay. Yes. Very valid point.
And this is why I was so actually conflicted with him is towards the end, once we found out that he did actually like her and that he just was embarrassed to say things around her and he said stupid things because she made him all flustered. I was like, okay, I'm trying to give him some benefit of the doubt. I was like, okay, fine. But it's,
but now what Joey says, I'm like, oh, is his mom giving him pressure?
Absolutely.
To have babies. Doubt. So it's like, okay, this can be.
Well, wait
a
minute. Maybe not his mom because we find out who the fuck his mom is.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Or maybe he's in a point in business where it's better to have a wife
Right.
that you can bring to the dinners and stuff. And then he can have something a little on the side. And he's identified as like, okay, she can make a happy home. I'm going to switch us over to, I asked about both main characters. Michael. Is Michael dreamy?
Michael's so hot.
God, yes. Absolutely. Like, he loves his mom. Dad was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He took up the mantle as being the man in the family and did whatever he had to do to make sure that his family was taken care of. Of course, he's the only swinging dick with all this estrogen between a mom, grandma, 5 sisters. I mean,
Yep.
Completely obsessed with the part where he's like having a strangling contest with his sister.
They're wrestling on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. It was so cute. I loved it so much. He is smoking hot.
So physically smoking hot, then also personality. He's family oriented. He's artistic. Like, let's just check all the boxes.
yeah, there was a lot of components
He
to him.
literally will sell his body to make sure his family and his mom is taken care of.
Yeah, it's really cute. And like, of course, what are his fantasies? Hot for teacher.
Because he's attracted to smart women.
Yeah.
Smart
Yeah.
older women.
So
Yeah.
let me recite to you the periodic table of elements without looking at them. I can do that.
You know what I really enjoyed? I almost wanted them to get into it is when they first meet. So just to get everybody up to speed. Okay, main character Stella has this incident with this guy Philip in the office, and he says, you just need to practice having sex. Maybe that would help you feel better about it. And she, processes the data and she says, well, maybe I do. Okay. So she hires this escort and
Researches.
Yeah. She research, abundance of research. She finds Michael. He's got all these 5-star reviews, which hot. And then she meets him. Oh, well, yes. He looks like, what's the guy's name?
Daniel Henney.
Yep. Who's an actor who is also half Asian, half Caucasian.
Yes.
Very tall, lovely gentleman.
I gotta say, in my mind, he's a lot hotter. I don't find that guy to be particularly sexy. I'll have to find a good example, but
It's okay. So then we won't have to fight for him. So we're good. So you
Right.
can be okay with not being
sure.
attracted to him. That's all right. So Lex, you've been exposed to that world. So when you saw the reference come up about Daniel Henney, did you immediately know who that was?
Okay, so I didn't know immediately who Daniel Henney was, but I recognized the name. But so they're both martial arts fans. It's one of the things they connect on. And they were like, ooh, let's watch Ip Man. I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic movie. I love that. Donnie Yen's in it. And then
some of the best fight scenes.
2 paragraphs later, they're like, oh, I love Donnie Yen. Yeah, you don't need to tell me he's in it. I already know.
Yeah, I know.
Boston represent.
Duh. Donnie Yen is the shit. Nerds over here on this side of the table.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the both of you going, oh my God, how the fuck are we friends?
She immediately is like, oh, my honey smells so good. What cologne are you wearing? I thought she's like, I thought I said not to wear cologne, but like, why do you smell so good? It's pheromones.
It's 100%. Have you ever experienced that? Like you're into somebody and then you get close enough to smell them and you're like, oh, wow, look at the time. It's time for me to go. Or, oh my God, I can't get close enough to you.
Oh, yeah.
I've had both experiences.
No, I am not sniffing your neck. There is nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. The neck? Oh, I'm literally like, let me get in your armpit. I am that guy. I'm just like, I want to get in there. I know.
I have a thing for the back. Like I will put my face on your back. I don't know what it is. It's
Okay.
like, let me smell your back.
No, like if there's good pheromones going, I'm just like, I want to get into your armpit.
You're like, I want to freebase it. I want to go right to the source.
I know.
Give me your pit.
Inner thigh.
Oh, okay.
But too much cologne, fuck off.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like if I can smell your cologne from the other side of the room, you have fucked up.
Especially if you're
Absolutely.
still wearing fucking Dracan Noir circa 1995. Then we have problems.
Yeah.
But to be fair, she's kind of paranoid, like going into this whole
Yeah.
sexual experience with him. She's like, oh, I have to be clean. I have to brush my teeth. I have to shower. I have to do these things. And he's just like, no, I want you just the way you are. And I'm also like, oh, I need to be clean. Like, I totally was like, yeah. So to be with somebody that can break you out of that is a really big deal, I think, where she's just like, yeah, I just woke up. Oh my God, no, I need to brush my teeth. I need to shower. And he's just like, nope, get right over here. And he talks about the way she smells down there and how he's just like, yeah, this is a problem in a good way.
In an addictive way.
Yeah.
But I also think that's a much bigger thing because you're talking about, as part of her autism, Asperger's, that regiment, that structure that she has where she does those 4 steps. Like if you looked, it was brush my teeth, shower, pajamas, everything, like her night routine or her morning routine. For her to break out of that and to get him to help her do that, that's even leaps and bounds above like what us people would do where like, oh, I feel dirty. For her, that is a gigantic step.
Absolutely.
And for 3/4 of the book, he did not know that she was neurodivergent. So he was just picking up on cues. He was just paying attention.
Right.
You know, both as who he is intrinsically and then also as a learned profession.
Yeah. I did really enjoy the cousin, too, who you think is all tough. They're like fighting together. Quan and Michael. They're fighting together. Quan looks like a drug dealer. You know, he's all tatted up. And then you find out like, oh, Quan was in here the other day. He can sew. He came in here to fix a zipper at Michael's family's dry cleaning shop.
Right.
And I was like, Quan?
Quan is great. So each main character's got somebody that's helping them kind of forward through this and develop their character arc and eventually get together with each other. Michael and Stella each have somebody. And for Michael, it really is Quan. Quan's like, dude, what are you doing? You're fucking this up.
Yeah.
And he's so straightforward about it, and it's lovely. And because Quan has Kai, who is autistic, he spots Stella's ways of being right away. And he's actually like, okay, yeah. But he doesn't just suddenly tell Michael about it. He's like, not my story to tell, but he nudges him in the right direction.
Which was just so thoughtful of him to not just even accidentally say that straight out the gate. Like he purposefully withholds. Does she ask him to withhold?
Yes.
Because he calls her on it immediately.
Right? They're at the club. She got overstimulated. Everything happening at the club. She goes running out the... She
on a date with Michael at
run
the
out
club.
the door.
Yeah.
Right.
He grabs her by the arm. He takes her outside. And he basically straight up asks her, are you autistic? And she's like, yes.
Yeah.
And she says, you're not going to tell him. And he's like, you should tell him because Michael would have never brought you here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, family dynamic is huge in this book. It is the motivating factor for both people, and them finding, you know, their love and stuff just for them is wonderful.
It's so cute. Their moms are both very sweet. I actually ended up liking Stella's mom a lot, where she was like, I always pictured you with an artist, like somebody who could be creative and free for you to balance out all of your math and straightforward like ways of thinking. And I was like, I
love it when Michael meets the family. It does not go well. He ends up breaking up with Stella, and then she comes back and she's crying, and her dad is like, you didn't need him. You need somebody who's like this. And her mom's like, you need to shut up. Stella doesn't need somebody to provide for her. She has succeeded herself. What she needs is just somebody to love her.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're good, Stella. I think we need to go over here now. And I loved it. And that's when I'm like, all right, mama.
See, I was really torn because there was a lot of great things Anne said, which happens to be Stella's mom.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden she would be like, oh, you just broke up with this head. Just go on Tinder. I think you just need to date more men. So it was a little bit like I'm being supportive, but I'm being backhanded. But I love when Stella said to her mom, can we just calm down about the husband and kids thing for a bit? She's like, I'm tired and I need to breathe. And her mom's like, okay.
And that's just it. She ultimately goes, okay.
Yes.
It's lovely.
And she also said, I'm so sorry. I never meant to do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain time in life that you hit and you get to this way of thinking. And I'm sorry. I'm going to stop now. But I was also so proud of Stella at that moment that she knew what she needed and she asked for it. And she spoke up about it, because that's something that people in any sort of spectrum have a hard time doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are. It is very difficult to know what you need and to ask for it.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with her in that moment. And I was pleased that she was that comfortable with her mom to say that.
100%.
But I have to tell you who I really loved.
Who do you
Michael's mom.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. First of all, she couldn't match her outfit for shit. She didn't care. She was like, these are the pants I'm wearing, and they could be green, and I could be wearing a houndstooth top with it. She was a trendsetter in her own right, but the crap that woman had been through, and I think I fell in love with her more when her and Michael are driving to the oncology appointment, and Michael was just saying, oh, I'm not good enough for Stella. And his mom gave a great perspective. Like, hey, Stella is their only daughter. There will never be a man good enough for her. Right? Because that's all they have. This is their one child. So you're never going to be that. But they will like you if you love her and love her well. I was like, that is the best life advice I've ever heard in forever.
Absolutely.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
And she is such a tiger mom for her son. But I also love, and I love that you brought that up, Joey, because I also highlighted what she says right after that. Because he's like, well, I'm not good enough and this and that and the other thing. And she's like, if you can't stand being the woman who's more successful than you, then leave her alone. She's better off without you. If you actually love her, then know the value of that love and make it a promise. That is the only thing she needs from you. And I'm like,
yeah, very realistic. And then, she's married to a man who just gets up and goes and becomes a con man. I mean, just the strength in her battling cancer. I mean, it was a lot. I loved her as a character within this whole thing.
But can we talk about the other things that Michael does for her?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's really funny that we just went like all about the family and everything. And, some books we've read, like Butcher and Blackbird, we were at like 60% or something stupid like that before we actually got to the head stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty early on in this book. So she hires Michael. They go to dinner. She says, this is what I need from you. And he's like, oh, okay. So they go up to the hotel room and he's ready to use his special moves that he's used to using with all his clients. And he keys in very quickly that that is not what she needs. So he goes so very slow. And it's hot.
It's so hot.
It's so hot. The kissing.
Also, the kissing, so hot. But part of the hotness is that he is a sex worker.
Yes.
And that he's super skilled.
Yep.
So you're going into it with that mentality and you're like, oh, this is the best already. You just know it.
And what makes it hot is, too, her reaction and how he's used to people just immediately reacting to him. And because he's got to switch up his game, he actually has to connect with her. And then that's when his body engages. He does this all day and night. Sex is kind of boring to him at this point, after 3 years of escorting. And the way she reacts to him, he's like, oh, shit, I actually want this. I don't even need because he gets ready with his hot fantasies in his head. Like he plays mind games with himself to be able to service his clients.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do that with Stella, which, warning.
Yeah.
Warning.
So hot. I like the teacher-student dynamic. I think that's pretty sexy. Granted, they don't get into very super kinky stuff, but it's just enough. And there was definitely plenty of moments where I was like, woof, woof.
I think because the way it was written, it was very almost like you were part of the exploration of the feelings that were happening during the learnings, right? Like the way Helen was describing Stella's emotions and what she was feeling and how something started as awkward, but then she wanted more, like how kissing was weird, but then she couldn't resist herself from kissing. Like that writing component is what made it hot for me. I was like, I kind of felt the same things she was feeling at that moment. So it was very connective. Like for me, it was sparks that were happening. And I had chicken skin at points. I'm like, this isn't even dirty. But the way it was written, it was just kind of like you were in that moment. You were feeling the things that she was feeling in that anticipation.
It totally brought me back to like very early days experience and that excitement about discovering sex and sexual activity and foreplay, and everything was
Yes.
new.
Yeah.
Should we ask our sexy stud to
Yes, please.
read us a little something?
Yeah. Yeah.
He trailed kisses to her neck, leaving her mouth free for talking, but by that time, she couldn't remember what she'd been about to say. His teeth scraped her skin, and shivers cascaded all over her body. Her nipples tightened to the point of hurting, but warmed palms soothed them. He flicked his tongue at one tip before he drew it on her again, making her toes curl. A rough hand skated down her stomach and slipped beneath the waistband of her panties. Clever fingers caressed her with bold strokes. He was touching her, there, right where she needed him to, even though she hadn't known it. Men had touched her before, but it hadn't felt like this. She only responded like this when she was alone, and never with this intensity. Stella, you're drenched. With each syllable, his lips grazed her stiff nipple. A hot exhilaration gusted over her hungry flesh before he closed his teeth around her and bit with care. Her body clenched hard, clenching even harder when he pressed a finger deep, filling her.
Woo. Yeah, that hits the nail right on the clit. That's a really good part because it also talks about this is like the first time that she's felt this way. And
let's be clear, she was not a virgin.
Right.
I think that's something that like comes up for the characters, and we haven't really talked about it so far. She's not a virgin. She's had sexual experiences with different partners, but it has never been anything other than uncomfortable, awkward. She's frozen up. This is the first experience where she's like, oh my God.
Where she's an actual participant in the process. And she's like, oh, wait a minute, it's supposed to be like this. So she had this whole checklist pretty much of things they needed to complete lesson plans.
The lesson plans, yeah.
And then there was a part where she was going to get graded on her experience. But one of the things Michael had brought up is foreplay. And she's like, oh, I don't need it. And he's like, well, there's a lot of men that really enjoy doing it, so let's do it. And she's like, oh, is this foreplay? And he's like,
yes, yes.
Also, very importantly, he says, no, you need it.
yes.
And I need it. There are other men who need it too.
Yeah.
And waking her up to that experience, which
Yeah.
is lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really refreshing to hear him making sure that she understood that that's actually one of the most important things
Mm-hmm.
in the whole experience, and that it really does have to go at the top of every lesson plan.
It does.
I love that he put it right at the top for each and every one of them. The thing that I really enjoyed also once you start getting more into the book is that he got so into her. There's one line that I really enjoyed where something was happening and she did something and it was apparently satisfying caveman needs he didn't know he possessed. And I was like, oh, that's a great way of describing that.
Yeah.
He was just like, yes, like I need you from this level of like primal requirements, which was so awesome to hear from the perspective of a sex worker.
Well, also somebody who grew up around women,
True.
you know, and obviously had been taught to respect. And there's a family dynamic where the male in the family has to behave a certain way. And it's very obvious that Michael was not brought up that way. So for him to kind of tap into that more primal with somebody and feeling safe to do that.
Did we all love, well, I'm so consistent.
What?
Chef King.
Uh-huh. As soon as he started cooking, I was like, oh, Birdie.
yes, Birdie.
Oh my God. I was like, yes, he has all these sisters, but he's the one cooking.
Cooking, yeah.
Oh my God. And it's so funny because the other day, my mom was at a restaurant and she told me that, well, somebody ordered this thing and it was like a banh mi, but it wasn't banh mi. They didn't spell it right. Like maybe it was a thing that they didn't spell. I don't know, but it wasn't a sandwich. And I was like, oh my God, was it bun? Bun? And I was like, oh, that was in my book. I was like, oh, is it this kind of noodle and whatever? And she was like, oh, yeah. So they didn't just spell banh mi wrong? And I'm like, no, they did not. No. They spelled it correctly. It's a whole other different dish. And she was like, oh, good. Well, because I was starting to think less of them. Now I want to go to a Vietnamese restaurant and get that dish.
Right down the street.
Oh. Is that what we're having for lunch today?
We can.
What a great...
There we go.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Yes.
Our favorite pho restaurant does bun.
Yes. We're going to have to peek in the back and see if the chef's really hot.
He used to be.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
It was my buddy.
Oh, man.
He's very beautiful, but he wouldn't be interested in us.
We have the wrong equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have the right bats in our bags.
No.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay.
But he's beautiful. Anyway, we digress.
There's nothing wrong with looking.
There is.
Nothing.
And he doesn't mind.
Great.
There was a couple of little teeny tiny little funnies in here that kind of got to me. The book was pretty serious, but still light in a sense of the way the conversations were had.
I think it's like a traditional sweet romance.
Yeah.
Like strip it down away from there being certain characteristics about the main characters. Like it's just a sweet romance. But tell me about
Until you got to the point where Stella didn't seem to know it, but she had the kind of nipples men and babies dreamed about. Rosy tinted areolas gave way to extravagantly protruding tips that, no question about it, had to stay pointed 24/7, hot or cold, rain or shine. Stella Lane, conservative economist, had porn star nipples, and he'd wanted them in his mouth. But the best part is her thighs flexed as she rose off his lap. Body stiff and breath shallow, she settled her hands on his shoulders. Just as he's planned, the new position brought her nipples to face level. Though, if she wasn't careful, she'd poke an eye out with those things. Only in his line of work was blindness by nipple assault a true hazard.
Yeah.
That
was good.
I was chuckling.
Yes.
But let me tell you, anytime she had her shirt off, I was just like, those nipples are probably cutting glass.
Yeah. Well, I was also just envisioning when he was like introducing her to yoga pants and her tight spandex dresses. I was like, oh, girl, that's going to be a problem for those nips.
But the lycra dress that she bought, that she had to wear the cardigan over, and he's like, no, these are perfect. Tweak, 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 tweak.
She's like, can you sew a bra in here? He's like, I can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
He was actually really funny. Like his POV for some of the chapters, the writing got funnier.
Yeah.
And I think it was done as a voice.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
yes.
It lightened things up quite a bit. So it was like a nice, very sweet read.
Yeah, that's so true. I actually hadn't even thought about that he was a really light foil for her because we weren't going to get that humor from her. Although we did get a couple of moments, I think.
That makes them work as a couple.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Everybody's had a nice sip of this delicious cocktail.
Yeah, I finished it and now. Woo! Woo!
This cocktail was inspired by one of the lessons Stella has hired him to teach her. So in the lesson plans, he's decided that it doesn't need to all happen in the bedroom because the best way to get into a person's pants is not in the bedroom. So he takes her out on a date. And gelato shop, come on.
Oh my God. I know. But I'm not really into PDA, but I was just like, oh my. I guess if I was dating somebody that was as strikingly hot as Michael, which, you know, sometimes I feel like my husband is that charming and adorable and hot. But I'm like, okay, if I was dating somebody that was that hot universally, I guess maybe I wouldn't mind PDA quite so much.
Well, what do you consider PDA? Like the holding hands, or are we talking about the ice cream tasting?
The ice cream tasting.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. That was like, well, actually, okay, we'll talk more about PDA. This book was filled with some kinds of PDA.
Yeah. So they get to the gelato shop and they pick out their ice cream flavors. And Stella's favorite is mint chocolate chip.
She's done all the research on it.
She's done all the research
research on it.
And he gets some green tea ice cream and they're going to share So, he feeds her some green tea ice cream and she's like, oh, that's wonderful, but I still like mine better. And he's like, oh, let me try it. And she holds out her ice cream to him and instead he kisses her.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He tastes it that way. So that's what inspired today's cocktail was a mint chocolate chip martini. A little light on the mint just because, I don't want to be drinking a Girl Scout cookie.
Why the fuck not? I love a sweet cocktail, which is completely the opposite of the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
I like it sweet and boozy.
Which this was. So.
This was, and I think this actually might have been the most universal favorite of all the cocktails, maybe.
Which is really funny.
It is.
It is.
Well, it's because it's not too sweet, because I think you made a really great choice with doing the dark chocolate drizzle.
Yeah, balanced it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good call. I mean, it was dangerously delicious. Yeah.
Please check out our social medias. There's some lovely pictures of our tasty cocktails and the recipe, which is my own twist on the Preppy Kitchen's chocolate martini.
Nice.
There's one set of words that I was a little worried was going to become a thing that I would have to mentally take out every time I read it. The pugnacious honey badger.
Oh, yeah.
Her little spirit animal that she's brought up, but I think it was a couple times in the beginning and then it didn't reappear again till like towards the end. So I think, what we say, Joey, it only shows up like 3 times.
Wait, what was the pugnacious honey badger?
Her mama. And I think 2 times she was referring to her mother. And then 1 time she was referring to channeling her inner honey badger for something.
Yeah. Seeing it as being an inner strength sort of thing. So I was like, is this going to be our next inner goddess thing? It was not. I was happy to see. So the only way it can be a drinking game is if you decide you're going to refill your whole glass at that time.
Oh, right.
Have your cocktail finished by the time it comes up.
Yeah.
Not that we need to have a drinking game for everything.
No.
But we've talked about this before when there's like phrases or a type of word that's in a book. Sometimes it'll pull us out of the book because it's repeated.
Yeah.
That one almost was there.
So there's another fun character that I think we need to bring up.
Is there?
Yes.
Who?
Philip's mama, Eliza.
Fun.
Fuck off.
Fun in the sake it would be fun to kick her ass.
Yeah. Fucking bitch.
She's the equivalent of the Mrs. Robinson from 50 Shades.
Oh, yeah. She bought him a Beamer. Now she's divorced from her husband and she's like, I want you back. You're mine. He's like, I don't think so.
And he describes her as the obsessed stalking client. She is the reason why he has the no repeats.
It's all because of her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she shows up at the banquet. I was like, oh, of course, you're Philip's mom.
Of course. That was a great twist.
I know.
Yeah.
That was good. I was like, fuck. That was great. Even at the beginning of the book, Stella talks about how all she does is go in all heavy and obsessed, and she was nervous about going too hard with Michael. And so this stalking theme comes up, I think, at least 5 times in the book.
Yeah.
So there's the heavy stalker lady, there's Stella worrying she's going to be stalking too much, and then there's the moment where Michael does research on Stella, and she's like, you stalked me? And she's got her little heart eyes.
Because for her, obsession is created when she really, really likes something.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I love that moment where she was like, oh my God, you stalked me? That's such high praise.
Yeah.
I just thought that was adorable as a small aside. But yeah, fuck Philip's mom. Of course, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what becomes the catalyst for the obstacle. She outs Michael in front of Stella's parents. She doesn't call him an escort, but she does say we dated. And that already puts him in the category of like, oh, not good enough for my daughter now.
Especially where she had money. So if they dated, it makes Michael look like he's going after women for their money.
A gold digger, yeah.
Because Edward, which was Stella's dad, had asked him, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, not much. So he looks like he's a slacker, not doing anything.
That made me so sad that he didn't say something more at that moment, but he was vindicated later when Stella kind of outs him that he was staying at home because he's taking care of his mom who has cancer. And I'm like, oh, why didn't he just say so?
Because it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah, fuck you.
But also, by the time they were in their fake relationship, living together, obviously in love, at that point, I was just like, just fucking get together in a like really restless sort of way, not in a, oh my God, I can't wait till they get together. No, just like losing patience.
Because neither of the two of them thought they were good for the other individual. I think that's what really was like, oh, you two are killing me here.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't think they were good. It was that they didn't think they were good enough.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was irritating.
Mm-hmm.
It was so annoying. One of my notes was, it goes back even before they were super committed. They had decided, okay, they're going to do this test relationship. They're going to do it. And Stella says, well, that means that we can't have sex because we're just going to do relationship.
So in Stella's mind, she said, if I become better at relationships, then the person I'm in a relationship will have more patience with me when it comes to having sex. So when she had outlined being in the test relationship with Michael, she had said, we're not going to have sex because I don't want to force you to have sex with me like your client did.
Right. Oh, so what you're saying is the next man that touches you is only going to be doing so because he really wants to?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes. And he was like,
and
game on. So the fact that she never recognized that poignantly, I really wanted her to acknowledge, wait, you are going for me now physically. It's because you really want me and you're not doing this just because I've hired you to do this. You've willingly said that this is something that you want. She never markedly recognizes that, and it drove me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Because that's such a huge moment.
Yeah.
Huge. It's a whole turning point for the book when he decides that he wants to be physical with her because he just wants her.
But every time that moment and he's vulnerable and he says something, she says, he's saying this because I'm paying him to say this. She never takes it out of it being that transactional thing. She can't believe it's him wanting her.
Oh, we're just
I know. So it kind of like what we were saying earlier, it brings you back to you're new into being in relationships and don't know how to read cues and don't understand. And, you know, I always say, even as an adult, I don't know how to do relationships. I just don't. Like, communication's different with every person. You try to read into shit that's not there. You're in your head, full conversations with yourself. You see things that really don't exist. And again, that was through this entire book. You're like, oh my God, the two of you love each other.
Yeah. It was great, like, even when the family came to see her and they were like, yeah, he's really pissed off right now. He's a fucking piece of shit to be around. Can you just get back together, please?
Yeah, just like when Janie came in and she was there to interview to be the intern. She's like, you guys gonna get back together because he just sucks right now. And he was so much better with you. And, you know, delivers all that information. It becomes a catalyst. And then Janie gets up to not do the interview. And Stella's like, where are you going? She's like, well, I'm not going to interview now. That'd be like nepotism. And Stella's like, no. You still interview because she compartmentalizes. But anyway.
Yeah, well, she had 6 more people to go interview with.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be nepotism.
But you needed Janie to do that push.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love how Janie was just so forward. Like, she's there for an interview and she's like, what happened with you and Michael? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, that was the first thing on her mind.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
But Stella was not going to see that in Michael until she had her own growth, to see that she was good 100% as she was. And I love it when she gets to that point. There's the spot in the book where it's like, this crusade to fix herself was ending right now. She wasn't broken. She saw and interacted with the world in a different way, but that was her. She could change her actions, change her words, change her appearance, but she couldn't change the root of herself. At her core, she would always be autistic. People called it a disorder, but didn't feel like one. To her, it was simply the way she was. Once she finally got that,
Yeah.
it was like, all right, done.
Well, because when Michael had walked away from her, she's like, I can be normal. I can change all these things. And she started to force herself
So
to do these things that it was painful. She's like, I can be normal. I can be whatever. And then when she had that moment, like, what the hell am I even doing? I'm torturing myself.
Yeah.
But do we have to talk about that? I want a black teddy bear wearing a gi. Can we get a man to send me one of those?
Sure.
Because I just want to clutch it like she did. Like she kept saying, oh, this is the stupidest thing, but she was holding it tight. And every time it fell to the ground, she was picking it up.
Yeah.
Adorable.
And she wasn't going to leave it in her office for the weekend because it would be lonely.
It would be
That was cute. That was very cute. Yeah.
It's like you getting flowers and you're like, why did he send me flowers? I have to take them home now. They can't stay here. They're just going to die.
It was a good ending. Everything but the last sentence, right?
Oh, God. You too?
Yes.
The last line.
I
almost
cannot for the
killed it
life
for
of me remember what the fuck the last line was.
The two of them are being cute in his studio where they're doing the photo shoot for his new line of clothes. You know, they're being a great success together. And, you know, she's talking about wanting to buy him a car. And he's like, finally, like, yes, you can buy me a car or you can buy me boxers. Do whatever you want. I'll wear them. I'll drive it. And she's like, oh, that's because you love me. And he says something to the effect like, yes, because it's economics. And I'm like, you did not just say that. That is so out of character for him.
But does that one line that completely doesn't fucking make sense ruin the book for you?
No, but it was an eye roll right at the end, which isn't what you want.
All right. So let's rate this puppy.
Okay.
Romance.
I'll start.
Great.
So I think romance, I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Okay.
But maybe it should be a 4. It's strong. It's really strong. It's very romantic. It's very sweet. The whole family element really upped it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to give it, actually, gosh, now I'm comparing it to all the other books. Oh, it's really hard.
But this isn't every other book. This is the Kiss Quotient. It is an experience. It is what you felt at that moment reading this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't be related to everything else.
Okay, fine. Then you know what? I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Because I really just, they were so sweet together. It is romantic. It is a quintessential romance. And I do think that they are very cute together. And the family element really did it for me. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Joey.
This is romantical. It is sweet. It is lovely. It is a beautiful love story. For me, it's a 4. I think the romance component of it really just upped the book. So romantically, 4 roses.
I'm just giggling that you said romantical because that's something, you know, my partner and I say all the time. We're like, it's so romantical. I also gave it 4 roses. And I get what you're saying, Birdie, about like you start comparing it to other books we've read. And, you know, as we've been doing the podcast, sometimes I want to go back and change my ratings. And I'm like, no, that has to be in the moment, how I feel today, because I might feel differently 6 books from now. So today I say 4 roses because it is a romance. That is the whole purpose of what's driving the story. The sex is there for the candy-coated topping. It's the romance that's really the heart of this book. So I'm going with 4, which brings us to the candy-coated covering. The smut.
For a second, I thought you were going to say the candy-coated cock. And I just had a vision of somebody like...
Wait a minute. Did you bring some of those for recording?
Damn it, I'm sorry.
So anyway, smut factor.
I don't know. Joey, go.
All right. So when I do my notes and I do my review, I go gut reaction for my ratings. And I generally don't go back and alter those because that was the moment, that was the experience that I have. And let me tell you, if you look at my categories, I list the emojis. So I had initially gone on my first read with only 2 raindrops. For me, I like it a little dirtier. After I listened to it a second time, my reaction was a little bit different. Like the connection really rang through. The anticipation really rang through. So I'm going to give it another 0.675%. So that's going to net us at a 2.675 for smut factor, because I think some of that has to be put into play where you actually can feel those experiences through what is written for you. But I generally like mine a little dirtier and trashier. Listen, it's just maybe wasn't my cup of tea, but this could be perfect for you.
I mean, listen, Michael could have taught her so many things, but he didn't, which is why I'm going to put it at a 3.5. Like, he could have really taught her a lot.
You gotta walk before you run, girl. Come on.
Yeah, that's her.
Listen, girlfriend is running pretty fast here, okay? She's smart. She learns fast. He even said so himself. There could have been a lot more running. So I'm going to put it at a 3 point. What did I say? 3.5?
You said 3.5.
Yeah, it's a 3.5 because I thought it was pretty steamy. Like what was there was great.
Yeah.
And it did, like you said, Lex, like it really brought you back to the like youngin' days when you're like first figuring out what this all means, which is a really fun experience and not something that you can have, I think, with an adult feeling book very often.
Yeah. So the smut factor for me was also a 3.5 because really well written. It was steamy, but it's very sweet. It's very, very beginner's first guide to the sexual experience. And good, great, awesome if that's what you're into. I'm also over in Joey's corner where I'm like, I want a little dirtier. And so in my headcanon, Stella and Michael get together and then they get married and she's going to do research and she's going to come up and be like, okay, so I was looking this up and I would like to be suspended now.
Right.
But I want the ropes to be made of this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And we're going to do it this way and make sure you get all the pressure points right.
Right. Yeah.
And he's going to be like, yeah, hon, we got it. So, but that's not in this book. But is there smut? Is it spicy? Yes, absolutely. It's not my ghost pepper spicy.
I'm not allowed to be in the corner with you?
Can I be in the corner with me? Yeah.
Can I be in the corner with you guys?
No. You be standing on the other side of the room.
Well,
Yeah, because you didn't say it. So you can't go back and rewind and be like, oh, but I want more spice. I like it dirty. No, we know you a kinky little bitch.
okay, fine.
You the first one in the corner and we following you.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay, bye.
You're not in the corner. You have your own dungeon.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Story. Just story. Go ahead, Bird.
I'm going to go with like a 2.5. It's a very basic story. It's a nice story. It's well done. But the moments that we were frustrated by were, I think, moments that could have been remedied by the story. I think that it could have been done a little bit better in that way where we were frustrated, but it wasn't to the point of annoyance.
Mm-hmm.
And that spoke to the story needing a little bit of work. But I did enjoy the story.
Okay.
I mean, it read very easy. I read it super fast. But yeah.
Joey.
All right. So I'm going to go with a 3. The spinoff of it being a reverse Pretty Woman, completely get that. As much as those frustrating points were that they weren't together, it actually made sense in this book. Based on the 2 individuals, someone who has a very tumultuous relationship with his father and wants to be completely unlike his father, and a young woman who is dealing with being different and autistic and those aspects of it, not having confidence, not understanding how she's supposed to be in a relationship, what sex is really good and what it's supposed to be like. So I get that, even though I wanted to just jump into the story and throttle both of them and be like, hey, you get together, be together, stop. All right. Just, it made sense for the story. I think throwing in the aspect of her being neurodivergent was something new for me. And it was really well put within the storyline. So I'm giving it a 3.
I'm going to fight you both.
Ah.
I'm going with a 4.
Good for you.
Oh, nice.
Because I think it's very well written. I like that she is giving us a character that is outside the norm and crafting it really well together. There is very little in this book that I was mentally rewriting. Was I frustrated by the characters? Yes, but that's just me because I'm also very straightforward and, decided the moment I saw the person I ended up with that I'm like, I will have them in my life for the rest of my life, whether they like it or not, And so I get impatient when it takes a long time for people to get together. That's me. That's my own problem. As Joey was saying, does it work for the characters? It works for the characters. So the way it's written to me works really, really well.
You might be swaying me.
And I love the way that their worlds were developed, and a lot of that has to do with family dynamic. And that's really hard to write and have it not be distracting to the love story and being like, oh, fucking just get on. It was a vital part. So I just think it's very well crafted. And so that's why I would give it a 4, especially considering this was a debut novel. Keep going to say novel. Novel.
You gonna slob on that novel?
So anyway, I always find it fun when I'm like, wow, that's where you're going with that. I'm going to fight you.
Yeah. And I mean, actually, I
But
think
that's
you might
okay.
be convincing me a little bit that maybe I should give the story a bit more credit. Let me say the other part that bugged me was I feel like there was some confusion at the beginning when it was like, okay, so I don't want you to be my boyfriend, but I want you to be a fake relationship. But I don't want you to touch me, but only if you want to. So there's that. But then there's a point where he says, no, we're going to keep it professional. And then he asks her out on a date. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought you literally just said that you're going to keep it professional.
She did. She was the one who wanted to keep her professional. He never said that, I don't think.
Well, no, because he keeps going back and forth and being like, oh, well, no
and
repeat customers. And I am going to not do these things because that's letting her in too close and stuff. And right as he's like, oh, I've made my decision. I'm not going to let her get in too close. Then he's like, oh, come out on this thing with me.
Because he sees her.
He can't
And
resist.
he can't resist. And
But
he
he does
gets
it
swayed.
Multiple
You
times.
don't do that? You don't do that. Like, you're like, oh, you know what? This guy's no good for me. I really should not even be entertaining this. I am strong. Next time, I'm going to say no. And then you see him and you're like, yes.
Mhm.
Wait, you want me on my knees right now? Okay, let me get there. Yeah. All
True.
restraint goes away
Yeah.
because you build it up, you have that strength. And then when that person is there and that chemistry's there, you're just like,
Yeah.
True.
Okay.
Okay, true.
I've been
True.
there, done that way too many times.
Yeah.
And that's caused me every gray hair I currently have on my head, just to let you know.
Fine. Yeah. I guess it was just hard to read
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
on the interior portion of that
Yeah.
monologue and just be like, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm here, I'm there, I'm up, I'm down.
It's okay.
But I think
Ooh,
you
it's
as a
a journey.
person are like that too. Like
Oh, yeah.
you have that, you've made your decision and then you have a conversation and you're like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. So it's being in that moment, having a different vision, having a different understanding. And then when your hormones play,
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
things
okay, fine.
change.
True.
So, Joey, I'm going to start with you this time.
Overall, I thought this book was great. It was fun. It was enjoyable. What I really found interesting is how much the two of you really liked it. So we have a little text group that goes on. Sometimes we'll be like, oh, I just finished the book. Where's everybody else in the book? And how we're doing. And to hear how much everybody liked this, I thought the book was good. I went with the 3.5. But to hear how much the two of you liked it more than I did, I think was really interesting.
Yeah, and I have to say, Lex, so Joey told me that she thought I needed to make sure that I was starting to read this one early because it might be slow. I don't know. It's slow paced. I
Yeah.
don't know. You got to give yourself time to
Yeah.
read this one. You know, I know you don't have a lot of time, really, like lots of warning. I was like, okay. Fuck. So I got all stressed out about reading it and I started listening to it and I was like, shit, am I reading the wrong book? And I literally went and checked our list because I thought I was reading the wrong book because I was like, there's no way this is the one that Joey was talking about. This is moving just fine and I enjoy it very much. Hold on. And then I went and looked it up and I was like, okay, maybe it's just because it's a little bit more vanilla. She's thinking maybe I won't like it. And that cracked me up.
Not that you wouldn't like it. I just think, so I have noticed about all of us, the more anticipation and the great sex and the really compelling storyline, you want to put it down your gullet. You want it in your brain. You're like, give it to me. Give me more. I'm up till 3:00 in the morning. I think this was a great, easy read. Did I think you were going to enjoy it the way you did? Probably not. But I thought you were going to enjoy it. It's a good book.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So what did you end up coming out with then? What's your score?
I think, honestly, I did really like it. I landed at a 4.
Nice.
Like, I did really like it. I thought it was super fun. It had a lot of really interesting things going on. I think it had a lot of interesting themes. It got me thinking about a lot of creative things that I wanted to do on the side. I was just like, oh, I wish I had a car I could sell that I could start a fashion line from. So expensive. But yeah, I thought it was super fun. Great.
I also went with a 4. And because I just think it's a very well-rounded, sweet romance. Am I going to run around and read it again anytime soon? Probably not. Would I recommend it to somebody else? Absolutely. Am I running to read the second book? Well, they're not. They're all standalones. But, am I going for rushing to read, book 2? No. I'm pleasantly happy right where I am in this world, and I don't need more. It's just complete in and of itself. But it's a very happy 4.
Nice.
Wow.
That's so cute. Spice it up, Joey.
Yeah, apparently I'm rating low on this. Wow.
Put some hot peppers on the top of this bad boy.
Yeah, we know I get heartburn real fast. Okay. Why the hell am I the one being volunteered?
Because you're the one with the fishbowl, all right?
All right, fine.
All right.
Let me stick my hand in the fishbowl. I think it's time for a little dishing with the dames. Huh?
Dun.
Yeah. That is just too perfect. So we clearly know within this book that Michael had naughty teacher fantasies. Because I'm a nosy bitch. I want to know, have you ever had dirty dreams about one of your teachers?
I'll go first because I'm sensing that Lexx is going to need a minute to compose herself, folks.
There's some lights are on in her face, man.
I hate it when you guys do this.
Well, there was no planning at all except for the 20-odd years that Joey Snow needed to plan this moment.
Quarter century almost.
I mean, I did have a very hot science teacher in college. Did I have a dirty dream? No. But he was the teacher that everybody had, that we were all sitting there like it was Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark with the girl sitting at the front staring at him. And if you're Harrison Ford, Raiders of the Lost, everything, you're going to know this moment where she blinks and on her eyelids, it says, love you.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
I love you. It's on her eyes. Love you.
Oh, that was lost of me.
It's
I'm going to
so
send
good.
you that GIF.
Yeah.
I need to see that.
It's excellent. So anyways, this teacher was definitely that moment. Now, Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark or any of that series, I guess, yes, teacher, hello.
Him dressed up in his suit does it for you?
Oh, young, dashing Harrison Ford. Oh.
Dashing. I love how you said
so dashing. He's so intellectual. He cares so much about the stuff that he does, which is tomb robbing. So it's not great when you look at it with a modern lens, but he's still hot.
We like men who do bad things, do we?
I know.
And the head's turned towards me.
Oh, of course I'm waiting. Hey, Birdie, open the popcorn.
Oh, yeah. I got it.
Let's get ready.
Cheddar popcorn.
Okay, so here's hoping I don't get anybody in trouble. in high school, we had a student teacher. You know, they have to do their hours before they can get their accreditation. And this very hot guy was the student teacher for our art class. And myself and two of my friends just thought he was the cutest little thing ever. And he had to be young, like early 20s. So there probably wasn't a huge age gap. And so one of my friends might have found out where he lived.
Oh, no.
And it was Halloween, and we might have showed up on his doorstep with a pumpkin to do pumpkin carving.
What?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
What do you
my.
You showed up with is this a thing?
No, we just
Oh.
decided it was a good idea.
You showed up at his house with a pumpkin?
Is that code for something?
And then you sat on his doorstep and carved?
Oh, I thought you were going sat on his something.
No.
Jeez.
So we were talking about carving pumpkins with him in class, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do that." And you know, this is before we could like show pictures on cell phones of like what we were doing. So we each showed up with a pumpkin at his house and invited ourselves in.
You went into his house?
We went into his house and carved pumpkins with him. Nothing crazy happened.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I thought that you were like, knock, knock. Nobody answered. Let's try the doorknob. Oh.
No, but we weren't invited either.
Well, sure, but he let you into his house.
He did, and he lived with his mom.
Oh. That makes it cuter, for the record.
But
Yeah.
not good that 3 teenage
Right.
girls showed up on this guy's house being like, "Hi, here we are."
But you weren't alone with him. His mother was there, which makes it cuter.
We had just the hardest crush on this poor dude.
Oh, that has to happen a lot, though.
So there's nothing really racy here, but also
Yeah,
these are all really
people would be
inappropriate
fired for
things.
less these days.
Yes.
Yeah, the standards are really high now. and-
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Hey, you wanted,
I asked.
We
It's
dished.
my own damn fault.
We
Yeah.
dished.
and I think in the many years of our friendship, you've never heard any of these
I've never
stories.
heard this story.
And I couldn't tell you his name. I can't remember
Oh,
it.
you.
Bummer.
N-
What? I want to go research this guy
I know.
immediately. Are you kidding me? I would get killed. Yep.
I now have a severe case of FOMO. I
Ah.
feel like my childhood was unfulfilled. I cannot remember a point where I had a hot teacher because I probably would have flunked the fucking class because I would have just been looking at forearms or ties or anything throughout the class. There was maybe one okay gym teacher, but I don't even remember that. Like, you figure I would remember. Damn, I want to rewind and have a hot teacher.
I was going to say, Joey, this doesn't mean that you can't go back to school now.
Oh, I could, because the teachers are probably within my age range.
Or younger.
Or younger.
They're new.
This could work. I could relive what I was missing out of my youth.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I know what we do. We take a cooking class. Birdie gets her Chef King.
Yes. That's brilliant.
I know.
Wow. I'm a kinetic learner. I need to learn by showing, by doing.
Am I holding this right? Am I stirring properly?
So it goes back and forth like that, right? Oh, wow. We're going to have to do that. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Done doing it.
Great.
All right, my sweets. It's time for our last sips. Listeners, thanks for being here. Like us, love us, tell your art teachers about us. Please rate us, follow us, subscribe to us on all our social medias. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.